Dr. Kim Woo-jin stepped off the transport ship and took his first breath of alien air. The planet Viridia Prime stretched before him like a dream made real. Purple skies met golden mountains, while crystal towers rose from the ground like frozen lightning. He had studied this world for months, but seeing it with his own eyes made his heart race with excitement. "Stay close to the group," Ambassador Park Hae-jin whispered as they walked down the metal ramp. "Remember, this is humanity's first official contact with the Viridian Empire. Every move we make matters." Woo-jin nodded and adjusted his diplomatic uniform. As the mission's xenobiologist, he carried the weight of representing not just Earth, but all of human science. The Viridians had agreed to this meeting after years of careful communication through space signals. Now 5 humans stood on an alien world, hoping to build bridges between 2 very different species. The Viridian escort waited at the bottom of the ramp. They stood tall and proud, their scaled skin shifting colors from green to blue in the alien sunlight. Their leader stepped forward and spoke in careful, practiced English. "Welcome to Viridia Prime. I am Commander Thex. Queen Nala awaits your arrival at the Royal Palace." The journey to the palace took them through the capital city of Luxara. Woo-jin pressed his face to the transport window, watching Viridian citizens go about their daily lives. They moved with grace and purpose, their clothing made from materials that seemed to glow with inner light. Children played in parks filled with plants that sang soft melodies when the wind touched their leaves. "Fascinating," Woo-jin murmured to Dr. Lee So-young, who sat beside him. "Look how they've integrated their technology with their natural environment. Those buildings aren't just built on the ground, they're grown from it." The palace appeared ahead of them like something from a fairy tale. Spiraling towers reached toward the clouds, while bridges of pure crystal connected different sections. Gardens filled with impossible flowers surrounded the main structure, and streams of liquid light flowed between the pathways. "Remember the protocol," Ambassador Park reminded the team as they approached the main entrance. "Bow when introduced to the Queen, keep your hands visible, and whatever happens, stay calm." The throne room took Woo-jin's breath away. The ceiling stretched up so high it disappeared into shadows, while walls of living crystal pulsed with soft colors. Hundreds of Viridian nobles filled the space, their formal robes creating a sea of shimmering fabric. At the far end, Queen Nala sat on a throne carved from a single massive gemstone, but what captured Woo-jin's attention was the creature beside the throne. It stood as tall as a horse but moved like flowing water. Its body seemed to be made of living crystal, transparent and brilliant, with veins of blue light running through its form like glowing rivers. The creature's head was elegant and noble, with large eyes that held ancient wisdom. "That must be a Loomis," Woo-jin whispered to himself. He had read about these beings in the reports. They were sacred to the Viridians, companions to their royalty, for thousands of years. This one was clearly special, its crystal body more complex and beautiful than any described in their files. "Queen." Nala rose from her throne as the human delegation approached. She was magnificent, her scaled skin a deep emerald green, with a crown of living metal that moved like liquid silver around her head. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of ages. "Beings of Earth," she said, her English perfect despite the strange accent, "you are welcome in our realm. I am Queen Nala, ruler of the Viridian Empire, guardian of the crystal ways and keeper of the ancient bonds." Ambassador Park stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, we are honored by your welcome. I am Ambassador Park Hae-jin, representing the United Earth Government. We come in peace, seeking friendship between our peoples." The ceremony proceeded according to plan. Gifts were exchanged, formal words spoken, and treaties discussed. Woo-jin found himself studying the Loomis more than listening to the speeches. The creature's beauty was mesmerizing, but something felt wrong. Its crystal body, which should have been brilliant with inner light, seemed somehow dim-dot. Then it happened. The Loomis suddenly swayed on its feet. The blue light running through its body flickered like a dying flame. A sound escaped from its throat, not quite a roar, not quite a song, but filled with pain that made every heart in the room ache with sympathy. Queen Nala turned toward her companion with alarm. "Kira!" she called out, rushing from her throne. But before she could reach the creature, it collapsed. Its massive crystal body hit the floor with a sound like breaking bells, and the light inside began to fade from blue to a sickly gray. The throne room erupted in chaos. Viridian nobles cried out in distress while guards rushed forward. Court physicians appeared as if from nowhere, their hands glowing with healing energy as they examined the fallen Loomis. Queen Nala knelt beside Kira, her hands touching the creature's dimming crystal surface. Tears ran down her scaled cheeks. "Like liquid diamonds, my dearest friend," she whispered. "What is happening to you?" The head physician, an elderly Viridian with silver scales, looked up from his examination with grave eyes. "Your Majesty," he said in a voice heavy with sorrow, "the sacred Kira is dying. The light of life fades from her crystal heart. I do not know what causes this illness, and I fear there is nothing we can do." A terrible silence fell over the throne room. Queen Nala's grief was so profound that it seemed to darken the very air around them. She stood slowly, her royal composure cracking like ice under pressure. "If Kira dies," she said, her voice shaking with emotion, "it will be a sign that the bonds between our peoples are cursed. The sacred Loomis have guided our decisions for thousands of years. Her death would mean the spirits reject this alliance." Ambassador Park stepped forward desperately. "Your Majesty, please. Perhaps there is something we can do to help." But the Queen's advisors were already whispering in her ear, their voices urgent and worried. General Vex, a massive Viridian with battle scars across his scales, spoke loudly enough for all to hear. "The omens are clear, my queen. These humans bring death to our sacred companions. We should end these talks before more harm comes to our people." Wu Jin felt his heart sink as he watched their careful diplomatic mission crumble before his eyes. But as he looked at the dying Loomis, his scientific mind began to work. The pattern of light failure, the way the crystal body was losing its coherence, the strange gray color spreading through its form, he had seen something like this before. In his studies of bioelectric organisms on Earth, not identical but similar enough to spark an idea. A dangerous, probably impossible idea, but the only hope he could offer. "Ambassador Park," he said quietly, his voice barely audible over the chaos around them. "I think I might be able to help." Ambassador Park turned to look at Wu Jin with surprise and hope in her eyes. "What do you mean?" she asked quietly, trying not to draw attention from the panicking Viridian court. Wu Jin stepped closer to the dying Loomis, his scientific mind racing as he observed the creature's condition. The gray color spreading through Kira's crystal body reminded him of energy, disruption patterns he had studied in bioelectric sea creatures back on Earth. "Your Majesty," Wu Jin said, raising his voice to address Queen Nala, "I am a xenobiologist. I study life forms from different worlds. May I examine Kira? I might be able to help." The throne room fell silent except for the soft, pained breathing of the dying Loomis. Queen Nala looked at Wu Jin with desperate eyes, while her advisors whispered urgently among themselves, "A human wants to touch the sacred Kira." General Vex growled, his scales darkening with anger. "This is madness. They have already brought curse upon our sacred companion." But High Priest Roku, an ancient Viridian with pure white scales, raised his hand for silence. His eyes, clouded with age but still sharp with wisdom, studied Wu Jin carefully. "Human?" the priest said in a voice like wind through crystals. "What makes you think you can heal what our greatest physicians cannot?" Wu Jin took a deep breath, knowing his next words would determine everything. "On my world, we have creatures that generate their own electricity. Sometimes they get sick when their energy systems break down. The way Kira's light is fading looks similar to what happens to those creatures." Queen Nala knelt beside her dying companion, one hand resting on Kira's dimming crystal surface. "If there is any chance," she whispered, "any hope at all, I must take it. You may examine her, human. But know this, if you cause her more pain or hasten her death, you will face justice according to our ancient laws." Dr. Lee So-young stepped forward with her medical scanner. "I'll assist Dr. Kim," she said to the Queen. Between our knowledge of biology and our medical technology, we might find something your physicians missed. Wu Jin approached Kira slowly, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. Up close, the Loomis was even more magnificent than he had imagined. Her crystal body was incredibly complex, with thousands of tiny channels running through it like a living circuit board. The blue light that normally flowed through these channels was now weak and flickering. "So young, can you scan her internal structure?" Wu Jin asked as he gently placed his hands on Kira's side. The crystal felt warm and alive, vibrating softly under his touch. Dr. Li ran her medical scanner over the creature's body, frowning as she read the results. "This is incredible, Wu Jin. Her entire body is like a biological computer. These crystal formations aren't just pretty decorations. They're conducting some kind of bioelectric energy throughout her system." Wu Jin nodded, his excitement growing as his theory took shape. "Look at these dark spots spreading through the crystal matrix. They're blocking the energy flow like a virus attacking a computer system." The Viridian court physician, Dr. Nexus, stepped closer with curiosity overcoming his skepticism. "A virus? But we have tested for all known crystal diseases. Her crystal structure shows no signs of physical corruption." "Not a physical virus," Wu Jin explained, his mind working fast. "An energy virus. Something that disrupts the bioelectric patterns flowing through her body. That's why your traditional healing methods aren't working. You're treating the crystal. But the real problem is in the energy itself." Queen Nala leaned forward eagerly. "Can such a thing be cured?" Wu Jin looked at Dr. Li, then back at the Queen. "Maybe, but it would require combining human technology with Viridian healing methods. I would need to use our medical nanobots to repair the energy disruption, but they would need to be guided by your healing crystals to work properly with Kira's unique biology." High Priest Roku's eyes widened with shock. "You wish to put human machines inside the sacred Kira? This is unthinkable. It goes against every law of our people." "But it might save her life," Queen Nala said firmly. She looked at Wu Jin with desperate determination. "Explain this procedure to me, human. I must understand what you propose to do." Wu Jin gathered his thoughts, knowing he had to make this complex science simple enough for everyone to understand. Imagine Kira's body as a river system. The energy that gives her life flows through crystal channels like water through streams. Right now, something is blocking those streams, causing the energy to slow down and pool in the wrong places. He gestured to Dr. Li's medical kit. "Our nanobots are like tiny repair workers. They can swim through those energy streams and remove the blockages. But they need guidance from your healing crystals to know where to go and what to fix." Dr. Nexus stroked his scaled chin thoughtfully. "The theory has merit," he admitted reluctantly, "but the risk is enormous. If these nanobots cause damage to her crystal matrix, she will die instantly." "She's dying anyway," Wu Jin pointed out gently. "Without treatment, she has maybe 6 hours left. The energy disruption is spreading too fast for her natural healing." To keep up, Queen Nala closed her eyes, clearly struggling with the decision. Around the throne room, her nobles waited in tense silence. Finally, she opened her eyes and looked directly at Wu Jin. "If I allow this," she said slowly, "and Kira dies, you understand that our laws demand justice. You would be executed for harming a sacred Loomis, regardless of your intentions." Wu Jin felt his mouth go dry, but he nodded without hesitation. "I understand, Your Majesty, but I believe this can work. I have to try." Ambassador Park stepped forward with concern on her face. "Wu Jin, you don't have to do this. We can find another way to save the diplomatic mission." "No," Wu Jin said firmly. "This isn't about diplomacy anymore. This is about saving a life. Kira doesn't deserve to die because of politics or fear." Dr. Li began preparing her medical equipment while Dr. Nexus gathered several glowing healing crystals from the court's sacred collection. The two physicians worked together despite their different backgrounds, united by their desire to save the dying creature. "The procedure will take several hours," Wu Jin explained to Queen Nala. "The nanobots need time to map her energy pathways and carefully remove each blockage. We'll have to monitor her constantly to make sure we're not causing more damage. Hi. Priest Roku approached with a large crystal that pulsed with soft white light. This is the heart of healing, he said solemnly. It has been used to cure our people for 10,000 years. If human technology is to touch the sacred Kira, it must be blessed by our most powerful healing artifact. As the sun set outside the palace windows, casting purple shadows across the throne room, Wu Jin began the most important procedure of his career. With alien nobles watching his every move and his own life hanging in the balance, he injected the first nanobots into Kira's crystal body. The next 12 hours would determine not just whether the sacred Lumis lived or died, but whether humans and Viridians could truly trust each other enough to build a future together. The first rays of dawn light filtered through the crystal windows of the throne room as Wu Jin wiped sweat from his forehead. He had been working through the night, monitoring the nanobots as they slowly cleared the energy blockages from Kira's crystal body. Dr. Li sat beside him, checking the readings on their medical equipment every few minutes. "How is she doing?" Queen Nala asked softly. She had not left Kira's side for even a moment during the long night. Her hand resting gently on her companion's crystal surface, Wu Jin looked at the scanner display and felt his heart jump with excitement. "The nanobots are working, Your Majesty. Look, the energy pathways are clearing up. The blue light is getting stronger." Indeed, Kira's crystal body was beginning to glow more brightly. The sickly gray color that had been spreading through her form was slowly being replaced by the beautiful blue radiance that marked a healthy Lumis. Her breathing, which had been weak and irregular, was becoming stronger and more steady. Dr. Nexus leaned over to examine his own crystal-based medical instruments. "Remarkable," he murmured. "The energy flow is returning to normal patterns. Your human technology is actually working with our healing crystals instead of fighting against them." High Priest Roku nodded approvingly. Perhaps the spirits smile upon this union of human and Viridian knowledge. The heart of healing crystal resonates more strongly than I have ever seen it before. As the morning progressed, Kira's condition continued to improve. The crystal channels throughout her body began to pulse with renewed life, and the magnificent blue light grew brighter with each passing hour. Finally, around midday, the great creature's eyes opened. Kira lifted her elegant head and looked around the throne room with confusion. Her large, intelligent eyes took in the gathered crowd of humans and Viridians before settling on Queen Nala's tear-streaked face. "My dearest friend," the queen whispered, throwing her arms around Kira's crystal neck, "you have returned to me." The throne room erupted in celebration. Viridian nobles cheered and sang while the human delegation smiled with relief. Ambassador Park placed a grateful hand on Wu Jin's shoulder. "You did it," she said with pride. "You saved not just Kira but our entire diplomatic mission." But as the celebration continued around them, something strange began to happen. Wu Jin felt an odd, tingling sensation in his mind, like someone gently touching his thoughts. At the same time, Kira turned her great head to look directly at him. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and suddenly Wu Jin could feel emotions that were not his own. Gratitude, warm and overwhelming, flowed through his consciousness. Along with it came a sense of deep connection, as if invisible threads now linked his mind to the crystal creature's ancient intelligence. Kira rose gracefully to her feet, her restored body gleaming in the sunlight. But instead of going to Queen Nala, as everyone expected, she walked slowly across the throne room toward Wu Jin. Each step she took made the strange mental connection stronger, until he could sense her thoughts as clearly as his own. "What is she doing?" Dr. Li asked with amazement as the massive crystal creature approached them. Kira stopped directly in front of Wu Jin and lowered her magnificent head until it was level with his. Her large eyes, now bright with health and intelligence, stared into his with an intensity that made his breath catch. Then, very gently, she touched her crystal forehead to his. The moment their skin made contact, the mental bond between them exploded into full awareness. Wu Jin could suddenly feel everything Kira felt, her gratitude for saving her life, her curiosity about this strange creature from another world, and something deeper, a connection that went beyond simple friendship or loyalty. By the ancient crystals, High Priest Roku gasped. She has formed a soul bond with the human. I have never seen such a thing in all my years. Queen Nala stared in shock as her beloved companion remained focused entirely on Wu Jin. Kira has never bonded with anyone except members of the royal family. How is this possible? Dr. Nexus studied his instruments with growing excitement. The nanobots, he said suddenly. When they repaired her energy pathways, they must have created some kind of resonance between her bioelectric field and the human's nervous system. They are literally connected at a quantum level. Wu Jin barely heard the explanations around him. Through the bond, he could sense Kira's memories, centuries of life in the crystal caves beneath the palace. The joy of her first meeting with Queen Nala as a young princess, the pain of her recent illness, and now the overwhelming relief of being healthy again, but more than memories, he could feel her personality. Kira was ancient and wise, but also playful and curious. She had the dignity of royalty, but also the warm heart of a loyal friend. And now, somehow, she had chosen him as her new companion. "This is unacceptable," General Vex declared loudly, his scales darkening with anger. "No human can claim partnership with a sacred Loomis. It goes against every tradition of our people." Other nobles began murmuring their agreement. Counselor Tora, a stern-faced Viridian with silver scales, stepped forward with disapproval written clearly on her features. "General Vex speaks truth," she said firmly. "The sacred Loomis have been companions to Viridian royalty for thousands of years. They are not pets to be given to aliens, no matter how skilled those aliens might be at healing." But Queen Nala held up her hand for silence. She watched thoughtfully as Kira continued to nuzzle against Wu Jin, clearly content in her new bond. When she spoke, her voice carried the authority of absolute rule. "Kira has made her choice," the Queen said calmly. "In all the history of our people, no Loomis has ever been forced to bond against their will. They choose their companions based on spiritual connection, not political convenience." She walked closer to where Wu Jin stood with Kira, studying the obvious bond between them with curious eyes. "Dr. Kim Wu Jin saved Kira's life when our own physicians could not. Perhaps the spirits guided his hand for a reason we do not yet understand." "But Your Majesty," Counselor Tora protested, "the implications of this are enormous. If humans can bond with our sacred creatures, what does that mean for our society, our traditions?" Queen Nala smiled softly as she watched Kira gently touch Wu Jin's hand with her crystal snout. "Perhaps it means our traditions must grow and change, just as we ourselves must grow and change. The universe is vast, and we have much to learn from our new human friends." General Vex stepped forward aggressively. "This is madness, my queen. You cannot simply give away one of our most sacred companions to an alien. The people will not stand for it. The people will accept what their queen decides is best," Queen Nala replied firmly. But Wu Jin could see the concern in her eyes. This decision would not be popular with many Viridians, and it might cause problems that could threaten the fragile alliance between their species. Through his bond with Kira, Wu Jin sensed the creature's own worries. She was grateful to him and genuinely wanted to stay by his side, but she also understood the political complications her choice would create. "Your Majesty," Wu Jin said carefully, "I am honored by Kira's bond, but I don't want to cause problems for your people. Perhaps there is a way to handle this that would satisfy everyone." Queen Nala looked at him with new respect. "You would give up this sacred bond to preserve peace?" "I would do whatever is best for both our peoples," Wu Jin replied. "But I also believe that Kira should have the right to choose her own destiny." As if understanding his words, Kira made a sound like crystal bells ringing in harmony. Through their bond, Wu Jin felt her determination. She had made her choice, and she would not be swayed by politics or tradition. The Queen studied them both for a long moment, then smiled with decision. "Very well. Kira has chosen, and I will honor that choice. Dr. Kim Wu Jin, I name you Guardian of the Sacred Light, first of your kind to receive this honor. Kira is yours, and you are hers, for as long as you both shall live." The throne room. fell silent as the implications of this historic moment sank in. For the first time in Viridian history, a human would share the sacred bond that had been reserved for royalty alone. 3 weeks had passed since Kira's recovery, and the bond between her and Wu Jin had grown stronger with each day. The crystal creature followed him everywhere, her presence bringing both wonder and whispered complaints from various Viridian nobles. While Queen Nala continued to support the unprecedented partnership, not everyone in the palace was pleased with this change to their ancient traditions. Prince Daesung, the queen's nephew and heir to the throne, watched from the shadows. As Wu Jin worked in the palace's bio-research laboratory, the young prince had always been jealous of his aunt's power, but now his anger had a new target. How dare this human claim a bond that should belong only to Viridian royalty? Uncle Vex, Prince Daesung whispered to General Vex as they stood in a hidden alcove overlooking the laboratory. This situation grows worse each day. The human walks through our palace as if he owns it, with our sacred Kira following him like a common pet. General Vex's scales darkened with shared anger. It is an insult to everything we hold sacred, my prince. But Queen Nala refuses to listen to reason. She has been blinded by these humans and their supposed gifts of friendship. Below them, Wu Jin was showing Dr. Choi Minho, a fellow researcher from the human delegation, some of the amazing Viridian biotechnology. Kira lay beside the work table, her crystal body glowing softly as she rested in the afternoon sunlight. Streaming through the windows, the energy crystals they use for healing could revolutionize medicine on Earth, Wu Jin explained to his colleague. And in return, our nanobots could help them solve problems they've struggled with for centuries. This partnership could benefit both our species enormously. Prince Daesung sneered at the human's enthusiasm. Listen to him talk about taking our secrets back to his world. These humans are not friends, uncle. They are thieves who want to steal our knowledge and make themselves powerful. Perhaps it is time to show them that not all Viridians welcome their presence, General Vex replied coldly. An accident could happen so easily in a place full of unfamiliar alien technology. That evening, as Wu Jin walked through the palace gardens with Kira, neither of them noticed the dark figures moving silently through the crystal trees around them. The gardens were beautiful at night, filled with plants that glowed with their own inner light and fountains that sang soft melodies as water flowed over musical crystals. I never imagined a place like this could exist, Wu Jin said to Kira through their mental bond. Your world is like a living work of art. Kira's response came as warm feelings of pride and happiness flowing through their connection. She loved showing him the wonders of her home, and through the bond, he could experience her deep connection to every growing thing in the garden's dot as they rounded a corner. Near a grove of singing trees, dark shapes suddenly emerged from the shadows. 6 Viridian assassins, their faces hidden behind masks, surrounded Wu Jin and Kira with weapons drawn. The weapons looked like staffs made of black crystal, crackling with dangerous energy. Dr. Kim Wu Jin, the lead assassin spoke and accented. English, you have insulted our sacred traditions for the last time. Tonight you die, and our sacred Kira will be free of your alien influence. Wu Jin's heart raced with fear, but through the bond, he felt Kira's emotions shift from peaceful contentment to fierce protective anger. The crystal creature rose to her full height, her body beginning to glow brighter as energy coursed through her crystalline form. Wait, Wu Jin said, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. There is no need for violence. If you have problems with me being here, we can talk about it. The time for talking is over, human, the assassin replied, raising his energy weapon. Your very existence here is an insult to our people. The assassin fired his weapon, sending a bolt of crackling energy toward Wu Jin's chest. But before the deadly blast could reach him, Kira moved with impossible speed. Light erupted from her crystal body, forming a protective barrier that absorbed the energy attack completely. The other assassins attacked at once, their weapons firing streams of destructive force at both Wu Jin and Kira, but the Loomis was no longer the gentle companion who had been resting peacefully in the laboratory. She had become a creature of living light and crystal fury. Beams of pure energy shot from Kira's eyes, striking 2 assassins and sending them flying backward into the crystal trees. Her body blazed with protective light so bright that the remaining attackers had to shield their eyes. When they tried to move closer, walls of solid energy formed around Wu Jin, keeping him safe from their weapons. "Impossible," one assassin gasped. "No Loomis has ever shown such power. What have you done to her, human?" Through their bond, Wu Jin could feel Kira's emotions, not just anger at the attackers, but something deeper. The threat to his life had awakened abilities in her that she had never known she possessed. Their connection had changed her, made her stronger and more protective than any Loomis in Viridian history. The fight was over quickly. Kira's new abilities made her too powerful for the assassins to handle. Those who were still conscious retreated into the darkness, dragging their injured companions with them. As the immediate danger passed, Kira's brilliant glow faded back to her normal gentle radiance. "Are you hurt?" Wu Jin asked, both out loud and through their mental connection. Kira nuzzled him gently, her crystal surface warm against his skin. Through the bond, he felt her concern for his safety and her satisfaction at having protected him successfully. Captain Yang Taekyung arrived moments later with a squad of human security personnel, their weapons drawn and ready for action. "Dr. Kim, we heard energy weapon fire. What happened here?" "Assassins," Wu Jin replied, still shaken by the attack. 6 of them, armed with Viridian energy weapons. "They tried to kill me, but Kira protected me." Yang examined the scorch marks on the crystal trees and the cracked pathway where the energy blasts had struck. "This was a professional job. Whoever sent them has serious resources and training." Dr. Choi Minho jogged up to them, breathing hard from running through the palace corridors. "Wu Jin, thank the stars you're safe. Word of the attack is already spreading through the palace. Queen Nala is furious." Indeed, within minutes the garden was filled with Viridian guards and palace officials. Queen Nala herself arrived, her face dark with anger as she surveyed the damage to her beautiful gardens. "This is an act of treason," she declared loudly. "Whoever dares to attack a guest under royal protection will face the full weight of Viridian justice." But even as she spoke these strong words, Wu Jin could see the worry in her eyes. The attack proved that not everyone in the Viridian court supported the alliance with humanity. There were enemies in the shadows, and they were willing to kill to stop the growing friendship between the two species. High Priest Roku arrived and immediately went to examine Kira, his ancient eyes wide with amazement as he studied her with his crystal instruments. "Extraordinary," he murmured. "The sacred Kira has evolved. Her bond with the human has awakened abilities that have been dormant in the Loomis species for thousands of years." Prince Daesung appeared at the edge of the crowd, his face carefully arranged in an expression of shock and concern. "Aunt Nala," he said with false sympathy, "this attack proves what many of us have been saying. The presence of humans here is causing dangerous instability. Perhaps it would be safer for everyone if they returned to their own world." Queen Nala looked at her nephew with sharp eyes, as if suspecting his true feelings about the situation. "The humans are our guests and our allies, Daesung. Anyone who harms them harms me personally." But Wu Jin could see that the attack had achieved one of its goals. Doubt and fear were spreading through the Viridian court like poison. The assassins might have failed to kill him, but they had succeeded in showing that the human presence on Viridia Prime was creating dangerous divisions among the Viridian people. As the crowd slowly dispersed and the immediate crisis passed, Wu Jin realized that his greatest challenges still lay ahead. Saving Kira had been only the beginning. Now he would have to find a way to bridge the growing gap between those Viridians who welcomed humanity and those who saw humans as a threat to everything they held sacred. The morning after the assassination attempt brought troubling news to the royal palace. Prince Daesung had spent the night meeting with influential nobles and military leaders, spreading his message that humans were dangerous to Viridian society. By dawn, nearly half the court had joined his faction, demanding that the human delegation be sent away. Queen Nala sat on her crystal throne, looking older and more tired than Wu Jin had ever seen her. The attack on her human guest had shaken her confidence, and the growing opposition from her own people weighed heavily on her mind. "My queen," Prince Daesung said as he stood before the throne with a scroll of ancient parchment in his hands. I invoke the law of sacred challenge. The human's claim to bond with a sacred Loomis must be tested according to our oldest traditions. A gasp ran through the gathered court. The law of sacred challenge had not been used for over 1,000 years. It was an ancient rule that allowed anyone to question the worthiness of a Loomis guardian through 3 dangerous trials. High Priest Roku stepped forward with concern written on his weathered face. Prince Daesung, the law of sacred challenge was created to test Viridians, not aliens. The trials were designed for our people, with our strengths and abilities in mind. The law makes no mention of species, the prince replied smoothly. If, this human truly deserves to bond with sacred Kira, let him prove it the same way our ancestors did. Through courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Queen Nala looked at Wu Jin with worried eyes. Through his bond with Kira, he could feel the Loomis's own anxiety about what was happening. But he also sensed her faith in him, her belief that he could overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. Your Majesty, Wu Jin said, stepping forward, I accept the challenge. If completing these trials will prove that my bond with Kira is legitimate, then I will face whatever tests you set before me. Ambassador Park tried to object. Dr. Kim, you don't understand what you're agreeing to. These trials could be deadly. But Wu Jin had already made his decision. I understand the risk, Ambassador. But if I don't do this, the opposition will. Never accept our alliance. This is bigger than just me and Kira now. High Priest Roku unrolled an ancient scroll covered in glowing Viridian script. The trials of the Eternal Guard consist of 3 tests, he read in his old, cracked voice. The trial of courage tests the Guardian's bravery in the face of mortal danger. The trial of wisdom tests their ability to solve the mysteries of symbiotic bonding. The trial of sacrifice tests their willingness to put their companion's needs above their own. And if he fails? General Vex asked with barely hidden satisfaction. Then the bond is declared false, and the human must leave our world forever? Prince Daesung answered, never to return. The first trial began the next morning in the crystal caverns deep beneath the palace. These ancient caves were where the first Loomis had been discovered thousands of years ago, and they remained sacred to the Viridian people. Wu Jin stood at the entrance to a narrow tunnel that disappeared into darkness. The walls around him pulsed with unstable crystal formations that could collapse at any moment. Worse, the trial rules required that Kira remain behind, restrained by energy bonds that prevented her from helping him. The trial of courage is simple. High Priest Roku explained. You must navigate through the unstable crystal maze and retrieve the shard of first light from the heart of the caverns. You have 3 hours before the path becomes too dangerous even for our rescue teams. Through his bond with Kira, Wu Jin could feel her desperate desire to help him, but the energy restraints held her firmly in place. He would have to face this challenge completely alone. The tunnel was barely wide enough for a human to pass through, and the crystal walls groaned and shifted constantly as geological pressure moved through the deep rock. Every few minutes, small avalanches of sharp crystal fragments would rain down from the ceiling, but Wu Jin had advantages the ancient Viridians who designed this trial could never have imagined. His human flexibility allowed him to squeeze through gaps that would have stopped larger Viridian bodies. His experience with cave exploration on Earth taught him how to read the subtle signs that warned of imminent collapse. Most importantly, even though Kira couldn't physically help him, their mental bond remained strong. Through their connection, she shared her knowledge of the crystal caverns, guiding him past the most dangerous areas and toward the hidden chamber that held the sacred shard. When he finally emerged 3 hours later, dusty and scraped but carrying the glowing shard of first light. Even Prince Daesung couldn't hide his surprise that the human had succeeded. The second trial took place in the palace's Hall of Ancient Wisdom. Wu Jin found himself seated before a massive crystal puzzle that had stumped Viridian scholars for centuries. The trial of wisdom required him to solve the puzzle of symbiotic bonding, to explain how 2 different species could share the same life force. The crystal puzzle was incredibly complex. with thousands of interconnected pieces that formed geometric patterns of stunning beauty. Each piece represented a different aspect of life, energy, consciousness, emotion, memory, and physical form. The challenge was to arrange them in a way that showed how these aspects could be shared between bonded beings for hours. Wu Jin studied the puzzle while the Viridian court watched in silence. Many of the spectators seemed confident that this challenge would defeat him. After all, their greatest philosophers had spent lifetimes trying to solve this ancient mystery, but Wu Jin approached the problem differently than a Viridian would. Instead of trying to find one perfect arrangement, he began creating multiple overlapping patterns that showed how bonding could work in different ways. His human perspective on science and symbiosis gave him insights that pure Viridian philosophy had missed. When he finally completed his solution, the crystal puzzle blazed with light so brilliant that everyone in the hall had to shield their eyes. The arrangement he had created didn't just solve the ancient riddle, it revealed new possibilities for bonding that the Viridians had never considered. "Remarkable," Dr. Nexus whispered as he studied the glowing patterns. "He has shown us that symbiotic bonding is not a single path, but a network of possibilities." His solution explains not just how Viridians bond with Loomis, but how any two species might share consciousness if they approach it correctly. The final trial was the most dangerous of all. The trial of sacrifice required Wu Jin to choose between his own safety and Kira's well-being in a life-or-death situation. They were placed in a chamber with two exits, one that would lead Wu Jin to safety, and another that would save Kira but put him in mortal danger. A timer began counting down, and they had only minutes to make their choice before both exits would seal forever. Through their bond, both Wu Jin and Kira could sense what the other was thinking. Kira desperately wanted him to choose the safe exit and leave her behind. Her love for him was so strong that she would rather die than see him harmed, but Wu Jin felt exactly the same way about her. The bond between them had become more than just a partnership. It was a friendship deeper than anything he had ever experienced. The thought of abandoning Kira to save himself was unbearable. As the timer counted down its final seconds, Wu Jin made his choice. He ran toward the exit that would save Kira, fully expecting to die in the process. But at the last moment, both exits opened. The trial had never been about choosing between their lives. It had been about proving that their bond was real, that each would sacrifice everything for the other's sake. Prince Daesung stared in shock as both Wu Jin and Kira emerged safely from the trial chamber. His plan to discredit the human had failed completely. Instead of proving that humans were unworthy of Viridian friendship, the trials had demonstrated exactly the opposite. "The trials are complete," High Priest Roku announced to the assembled court. "Dr. Kim Wu Jin has proven his courage, wisdom, and devotion beyond any doubt. His bond with the sacred Kira is genuine and blessed by the ancient spirits themselves." But even as the crowd cheered this victory, Wu Jin could see the dangerous anger in Prince Daesung's eyes. The prince had been humiliated before the entire court, and men like him did not forgive such defeats easily. Through his bond with Kira, Wu Jin sensed that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. Prince Daesung's rage burned like fire in his chest as he watched the court celebrate Wu Jin's success in the trials. The human had not only passed every test, but had done so with a grace and wisdom that impressed even the prince's own supporters. This was not how things were supposed to happen. "Uncle Vex," the prince whispered urgently to General Vex as they met in a secret chamber deep beneath the palace. "The trials have made the human more popular than ever. Half the court now sees him as some kind of hero." General Vex's scales darkened with shared frustration. "The Queen grows stronger in her support of these aliens with each passing day. Soon she will sign the formal alliance treaty, and then it will be too late to stop." Then we must act now," Prince Daesung declared, his eyes gleaming with desperate determination. "If we cannot discredit the humans, we must remove them by force. And we must remove my aunt as well, since she refuses to see reason." The general leaned forward with interest. "You speak of treason, my prince. Are you prepared to take the crown by force?" I am prepared to save our people from the corruption these aliens bring, the prince replied. Tonight, while the court celebrates the humans' victory, we will strike. My aunt's guard will be relaxed, focused on the festivities rather than watching for threats from within. Meanwhile, in the palace's great hall, Queen Nala was indeed preparing to sign the historic treaty that would make the alliance between humans and Viridians official. The ceremony was planned for the next morning, with representatives from both species present to witness this momentous occasion. Wu Jin stood with Kira beside the great windows, looking out at the crystal spires of the city below. Through their bond, he could feel the Loomis's contentment, but also a subtle unease that she couldn't quite explain. Something feels wrong, he murmured to Dr. Li So-young, who had joined him at the window. Kira senses tension in the palace more than usual. Before Dr. Li could respond, the lights in the hall suddenly went out. Emergency crystals flickered to life, casting eerie shadows as armed figures burst through the main doors. Prince Daesung led them, no longer bothering to hide his treachery behind false smiles and political maneuvering. Aunt Nala, he called out as his soldiers surrounded the queen's throne. Your reign ends tonight. I cannot allow you to destroy our people with these dangerous alliances. Queen Nala rose from her throne with dignity intact, despite the weapons pointed at her. Daesung, you have chosen the path of darkness. Our ancestors will weep for what you have become. Our ancestors would understand that I do this to preserve Viridian purity, the prince shot back. These humans corrupt everything they touch. Even our sacred Loomis have been twisted by their alien influence. General Vex stepped forward with a cruel smile. The humans will be executed as spies and saboteurs. Their deaths will serve as a warning to any other aliens who think to infiltrate our society. But as the general spoke these words, Kira moved to place herself between the armed soldiers and the human delegation. Her crystal body began to glow with the same protective energy she had displayed during the assassination attempt in the gardens. Stand aside, corrupted creature, Prince Daesung commanded. You were once sacred to our people, but the alien has polluted your spirit. You are no longer worthy of our reverence. Through their bond, Wu Jin felt Kira's confusion and hurt at these harsh words. She had served the Viridian royal family faithfully for centuries, and now she was being cast aside simply for choosing to bond with someone from another world. The confusion in Kira's mind suddenly crystallized into something much more powerful. Righteous anger. Not just at the insults directed toward her, but at the injustice being done to Queen Nala and the threat being made against Wu-Jin. Light erupted from Kira's body with such intensity that everyone in the hall was forced to shield their eyes. But this was different from her previous displays of power. The light wasn't just protective energy, it was transformation. Kira's crystal body began to change and grow, her form becoming more majestic and powerful with each passing second. New crystal formations sprouted from her shoulders like wings made of living light. Her eyes blazed with ancient wisdom as she accessed abilities that had lain dormant in the Loomis species for thousands of years. Impossible, High Priest Roku gasped from where he had been forced to kneel by the rebels. She is evolving. The bond with the human has awakened the true power of the eternal guardians. Prince Daesung stared in terror as the transformed Kira turned her blazing gaze upon him. The creature that had once seemed like a gentle companion now appeared as what she truly was, a being of immense power who had chosen to serve rather than rule. You will not harm Queen Nala, Kira spoke, her voice ringing like crystal bells throughout the hall. In all her centuries of life, she had never spoken aloud before, but the transformation had given her new abilities along with her enhanced form. And you will not harm my chosen guardian, she continued, moving to stand protectively over Wu Jin. He saved my life when your own people could not. He has proven his worth through courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Any who threaten him threaten me. The rebel soldiers looked to Prince Daesung for orders, but the prince himself was backing away, in fear. The creature before them was no longer just a palace pet, but something far more dangerous and powerful than they had prepared to face. General, Vex raised his energy weapon with desperate courage. Sacred or not, it's still just one creature against All of us. But as he fired his weapon, Kira's new crystal wings spread wide, creating a barrier of pure energy that absorbed the blast completely. Then, with a sound like thunder, she unleashed her own power. Beams of concentrated light shot from her eyes and the crystal formations on her wings, striking the weapons from the rebels' hands and sending them sprawling across the hall floor. But she was careful not to cause permanent harm, even in her anger. She retained the gentle heart that had made her beloved by the Viridian people. The battle was over in moments. Prince Daesung and his followers lay unconscious or cowering on the crystal floor. Their coup attempt ended before it could truly begin. Queen Nala approached the transformed Kira with wonder in her eyes. "My dear friend," she said softly, "you have become something magnificent." The legend spoke of Loomis who could evolve beyond their original forms, but I never dreamed I would see such a thing with my own eyes. Kira lowered her great head to nuzzle the queen gently, her voice now soft and musical. "You gave me love and purpose for many years, my queen, but this human gave me something I had never experienced before, true partnership. The bond we share has changed us both." Indeed, Wu Jin could feel the changes in himself as well. Through their enhanced connection, he had access to Kira's vast knowledge and wisdom, while she benefited from his human creativity and adaptability. They had become something new, not just two separate beings working together, but a true symbiotic partnership. "Prince Daesung," Queen Nala said as she looked down at her defeated nephew, "you sought to preserve Viridian traditions by rejecting change, but you failed to understand that our greatest tradition is adaptation and growth. The Loomis have always evolved alongside us, and now they evolve with our new human friends as well." High Priest Roku struggled to his feet, his ancient eyes bright with excitement. "Your Majesty, we must record everything that has happened here tonight. This evolution represents a new chapter in the history of both our species." Ambassador Park stepped forward, still shaken by the rapid events of the evening. "Queen Nala, on behalf of humanity, I want to thank you for your friendship and protection. Dr. Kim's bond with Kira has shown us possibilities we never dreamed of." The Queen smiled as she watched Wu Jin gently stroke Kira's transformed crystal surface. "Dr. Kim Wu Jin," she said formally, "I name you the first eternal guardian of two worlds. Your bond with Kira will serve as a bridge between our peoples for generations to come." Engineer Nam Ji Yoon and communications specialist Lim Dong Woo, who had been watching the ceremony from the side of the hall, began documenting everything with their recording equipment. This historic moment would be studied and remembered by both species for centuries. As dawn broke over the crystal spires of Viridia Prime, the formal alliance treaty was signed in a ceremony that celebrated not just political cooperation, but the birth of a new kind of relationship between different forms of life. Kira, still in her magnificent evolved form, stood proudly beside Wu Jin as Queen Nala and Ambassador Park exchanged the documents that would bind their worlds together in friendship and mutual respect. But perhaps the most significant moment came when other Loomis from around the palace began approaching the human delegation members, their crystal eyes bright with curiosity and interest. Kira's transformation had awakened something in her entire species, a desire to explore new kinds of bonding and partnership. Dr. Choi Minho found himself being nuzzled by a young Loomis with silver crystal formations, while Captain Yang Taekyung discovered that one of the Royal Guard's companion creatures seemed fascinated by his military training and discipline. "It appears," Queen Nala observed with amusement, "that Kira and Dr. Kim have opened a doorway that will change both our worlds. Forever, the age of true interspecies partnership has begun." As the celebration continued around them, Wu Jin and Kira stood together in quiet contentment. Through their bond, they shared not just thoughts and emotions, but dreams of a future where the barriers between different forms of life would continue to fall. They had started as alien strangers brought together by medical necessity. They had become friends through shared danger and mutual respect. Now they were something entirely new, partners in the truest sense, guardians of a friendship that would light the way for countless others to follow, the crystal city of Viridia. Prime sparkled in the morning sun, its spires reaching toward the stars where other worlds waited to join the growing alliance between species who had learned that differences in form meant nothing compared to similarities in heart and spirit.